think we're live.
It usually shows up real quick. All right. Hello, everyone. Karen here, hosting tonight's episode. Here tonight with my beautiful partner, Tina. I don't know why I say your name like that. Tina. I'm just going to hop on today to catch up on the last few videos that we have done. It's part of the biggest, I guess I would say, like the biggest piece of the puzzle. This is the puzzle. Puts together everything about our world, this world, and the deception that we're all living in. But I find that this is the most it resonates the most with me, I guess, finally, like something that makes sense of everything. I think everything just came, domino affected, like from when we had started. Well, I guess everything that we had started and all the sessions that we had done had shown us the deception of it. And pretty much like, even though there were things in our sessions that sounded good and that sounded like, what you're supposed to get out of a session, it's all part of this whole matrix system and how deeply engulfed we are within the false light, especially being in the community. I speak of the spiritual community. It was really mind-blowing. Usually like you'll see my face be a little bit put off and upset, but I felt this was actually a relief because now it's like, once you know how to get out of here, or you have a good idea, you have your golden ticket and you can get out of here. I find like the information about this matrix stuff and how we can get out of this place was actually quite timely. It came actually the night before my grandmother passed away. So I was able to give her that information before she passed. Like she literally passed the next day. I had seen it was like a premonition that morning. I knew that my mom was going to call me in the morning, which is why I got up so early. And if y'all know me, I'm not an early bird, but I was up and she told me that they called, the center had called to say that it was time for her to go. Like she's at the end now. So I went and brought all my stuff. So I brought all the anointing oil that Tina made me. I brought the spray. I brought my crystals. I brought all of my things like in my fanny pack. And I was like, all right. I knew that I was going to give her, she's a Catholic. So I was going to give her the last rites, at least my version of it. And that was it. The last rites was for her to walk over the Rainbow Bridge, the real one. Yeah. So just to say, like, when I had the premonition, I knew that all of these things was going to happen. Like she was dying that day. I was going to be there. I was going to be the one to see her die. I was going to be the one there to see it all happen. That the priest wasn't going to be contacted, which ended up happening. My sister forgot to mention it. I don't even think they even, I think my mom told the nurse if you can call the priest to come and do it. And she said, yeah, I'll call, but it was like, it's not going to come, So yeah, I had told her like I spoken to her telepathically, even though she wasn't there, her body was what was ticking to its death. But
Well, you didn't even tell them she was 103.
yeah, and she, the day that her kidneys failed was she had received her third COVID shot.
Oh, we have to be careful what we say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, she
We have
received
to speak
it.
in code. We have to speak in code.
Well, yeah, but that's a fact. She received it. I'm neither confirming nor denying if that was what would put her on the edge, if it helped her, whatever. If it was what was necessary for her transition, I'm not upset about it. Because like everything leading up to that, like her death, it felt though that the darkness that was working through wherever she was pushing her to go there anyway. So she was up in the unit on the 3rd floor for 10 years, and then it was very recent that they had brought her to the 1st floor. So they moved her out of her environment. So already there's a red flag. Starting anew with new staff, people she doesn't recognize or know. And then the protocols. So, but she went very peacefully. I would say it was like I was actually really terrified because I when my grandfather passed away 21 years ago, he died actually during his last rites. The priest was actually at the end of the prayer and then started to give the holy water on him, and he went into cardiac arrest and was gasping, and apparently his hands were out like trying to get something, like, and they couldn't do anything, just had to let him die. So I'm happy I didn't see that. But for her, she was there 1 second and gone the next, as if, like, how you see the what's it called, the arms of a clock, and then it just stops.
Yeah.
And that was it. It was beautiful. I was just like, that's the way some people should go. No pain, nothing, no struggling, just asleep and gone.
Yeah. But you said that you had felt she was gone way before that. Her soul had already left.
Her soul wasn't in the room when I had gotten there. I knew that. If anything, she was wandering around, because like even like I would say a couple minutes before she passed away, like I went to go, my cousins came to visit and then they had left. And then I was there actually with my uncle and aunt. So I went to my car for a bit to get some water for my aunt. And there was a man in the hallway who I had never seen. He was in a wheelchair. And I was staring at him. We were staring at each other from the whole like length of the corridor. So she's all the way in the back, like on the far end, and he was just like right where I had to go to get out of the unit, and staring at me. And I kept walking, and I'm like, this is usually really awkward for me to stare at someone while I'm walking towards them. I would usually look away, but I didn't. I couldn't take my eyes off him, and him too. And then he just, when I finally get to him, he brings out his hand and he's like, in French, he's like, my condolences. And I said, thank you. So I'm like, well, she's technically not dead yet, but that was an indication for me that she was going, like, soon. So I came back, like not even 2 minutes later with the waters, and I was telling my uncle, I was like, yo, this guy like told me like gave his condolences, and we were like looking at her and she was clearly breathing. So I'm like, maybe it's a premonition or something, or it's like happening, or he's already seen her. I thought she was already in the hallway or something, or he saw her, something.
Maybe he did.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. So I was just like, okay, cool. And yeah, she died like 2 minutes after that. The nurse came in just to check her, like the usual check. I asked a question about her clavicle, so we were clearly looking at her chest breathing, and her mouth was open the whole day. She's been breathing throughout her mouth, so you can hear her. She was snoring actually in the beginning of the day, and then as the day progressed into night, she stopped snoring, so she was just breathing from the mouth. And yeah, so she looked at the clavicle, whatever, because there was something there that I had a question about. And yeah, she left and she stopped breathing, like not even a minute after. So it was a lovely transition. And I hope she, got out. I hope she found the door at the wall, at the back of the wall of this dome or wherever the hell we are.
Yeah.
I told her to
I think
follow.
she did.
I told her to follow Jesus, but Jesus will lead the way.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah. Well, 103 years, she had a beautiful life. And I mean, that's amazing to live that long. They say that people with Alzheimer's and dementia, and we've even seen this in our own clearings, that it's a slow transition for them.
Oh, it's so slow because they're like weaving in and out of dimensions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not here all the time. And so that's why, like, when you would speak with her and she wouldn't remember you because she was in an old aspect of herself, like, say from
before me,
before that you were born, right?
Yeah.
Like she was 33 years old, and then she would come back into her body and then be like, and you would ask her, do you remember me? And she'd be like, of course, you're Karen. Like, what are you talking about? Because she was literally traveling.
Yeah. Live.
Yeah.
Exactly how it would.
And so when we talk about like Alzheimer's and dementia and how awful that looks to us, looking in, perceiving it, it may not be as awful for them as it actually looks, because they're actually out traveling through dimensions.
I think the scary part for them is when we're like, you're not where you say you are.
Right.
Because if you go with it and play with it, well, I was an asshole back then. I would be like, you're not there. But I didn't know, I was just like, stop saying you're in the Philippines. You're not there.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when you can just kind of allow them, I mean, really, they tell you to anchor them back into reality, but that doesn't do much good because it doesn't work, number one. Number two, it confuses them because you're telling them they're one place when really in their mind, in their consciousness, they're in a completely different place. I mean, I remember when my grandmother was going through this with the dementia and everything, she was in between worlds. She wasn't necessarily in one or the other. She was in between. So she was really confused. When she was at the end of her life, I mean, she went into the hospital for a broken hip, but that was definitely a trigger point for her to cross over so that she wouldn't have died at home, and it would have been traumatizing for everybody. So she was in between worlds, and when all of her loved ones like started to show up, people that have died, they were literally showing up in her hospital room to help her transition. She was just like, what the fuck is going on? She's like, they're dead. They're dead. And I know they're dead. What are they doing here? And at the time, we weren't really prepared for her death. We really didn't think she was going to die. She had nothing wrong with her besides a broken hip. So you know, I wish I would have been able to, you know, explain to her what was happening, because she was in a lot of fear and not knowing why these dead people were in her room, you know. So yeah,
Right.
the end of life is really interesting. You hear stories from nurses and doctors that work in hospice in these professions. And these phenomena are actually real phenomena. You know, they do come to greet their loved ones and help them transition over. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, so the fact that we did the video of the story of creation from the Gospel of John, like the night before this happened, was definitely not a coincidence. I think it was also for you to have some peace of mind that she wasn't going to get trapped by the archons and be recycled back in and have to stay here, but that she could be guided by Jesus back to the real world. So when we are saying, you know, the title of our video is 5D a hoax? And that is because are we awakening and raising our consciousness? Yes, absolutely. Individually, we are. And maybe you could say as a collective, things are shifting. But the thing
Very
is, when,
slowly as a collective, though.
yes, very, very
Very
slowly.
slowly.
But when you understand that we are in a fallen system, we are in a fake world, a
Yeah,
fabricated
we are in the upside
world.
down.
It's right. That's exactly what it is. It's literally like the upside down. And this system, this world that we're in, was created by the chief ruler, the Archon, Yaldabaoth. And so when we're talking about ascension, the way that the most of the spiritual New Age community speaks of it as ascension to 5D, we need to understand that 5D, in the way it's spoken of now, is just another layer of the game. There's really no
Right.
point in ascending through a fake system. This whole system in all its dimensions are a fallen system, a fake system created by Metatron. He's the enforcer of this system. This is all the information that we've gathered.
We are in Jumanji, guys.
I have to watch that movie. I haven't seen it.
No, it's just saying like it's just a game. It's a game, and it's just a wild. That's it. You know, like you think you're going up levels and stuff, and it just gets crazier and crazier. You're not going anywhere. It's one game of crazy.
Right. So the only way to really truly ascend, like the true meaning of ascension, is to return back to the one true source, the incorruptible one, the one true organic source that is above all of this world, all of the dimensions, that is above all. But when people talk about source, they think there's only one. And this is where it gets tricky. So, you know, there's a lot of hypnosis practitioners that don't understand this, and they'll be bringing through information from source, or even channelers, anyone, you know, they'll be bringing through information from source. And technically that being is not lying, because that being is the creation, is the creator of this world. It's the source of this world, the fallen system.
Of the upside down.
Upside down, the matrix.
Well, yeah, the opposite. It's the
Scripted
anti-life.
reality.
It's life and then anti-life. We're in the anti-life world. We're in the source, who is the Archon. That is the anti-life.
Yeah. And so here we go, where everything reverts back, everything tracks back to parasites, physical parasites and interdimensional parasites. And Candace Carl Goldman wrote this post today about the snake. And the information that came through was the I forget what the name of it is, the medical symbol with the rod with the snake wrapped
Snake,
around it.
Yeah, that's wild.
And yeah,
Because
which
it's
is
just telling you right away, like, what exactly is the problem.
right. So what I've been finding is that literally the root of all physical disease and illness on this planet roots back to parasites, physical parasites.
Well, yeah, that is the illness, right? If this is an archonic world, then definitely parasites, which is an organism that is not organic, you say? That
Not
would make
organic,
sense. That is what would make our vessels sick, what
right?
makes everything sick.
But these beings are billions and billions of years old, way older than us. They know us better than we know ourselves, right? Just like the entities do,
Mm-hmm.
just like the archons do. They know us better than we know ourselves because they created this world. So of course they do. So
I feel like your aunt. I'm
parasites,
like, yeah.
parasites, physical or etheric, actually have the ability to control our minds, to control our behavior. So one thing to control the mind, but then the mind controls the behavior. And a prime example of this is I talked about it in a few videos back about how I was doing this parasite cleanse. And this is why Iver is working for people, because it's all about parasites.
Right.
The the illness that's happening now, a lot of it is caused by parasites. And we know that it's in the R marks. It's in the vials. Several doctors have already come out and shown that for a fact through their research. I am not surprised that there's not more doctors talking about this, but everyone's just mind controlled. Everyone's mind controlled.
Well,
No one can think for themselves anymore. This is the whole thing. Go ahead. What
yeah.
were you going to say?
No, I'm just thinking of my own doctors that I used to work with who don't have the capacity to think outside of their box. So for those that are actually going in and I think coming out with the truth are really the source players. Those that are not are really just the black hole people.
Yes.
They're not there to help. Like they're just the backdrops, fake NPCs, like all the NPCs.
Right. Right. So this is what we learned from the parable of the wheat and the tares, that there
Yes.
are true children of God, and then there are the NPCs, the organic portals, the black holes. There is just like an endless void within them. These are the children of the chief ruler, the Archon Yaldabaoth. So when Jesus talks about the wheat and the tares, that's what he's saying. He's saying there are children of God with the true light of source, the one true incorruptible source within them. And then there are the children of the Archon with the artificial spirit.
Right.
These are the people, we all know them, where it's just they're the energy vampires, right? They're just always taking, always taking, always taking. Vampires, parasites. It all reverts back to parasites. The elites that are in control are parasites. They parasite off of us because the parasites, the archons, need our light to survive. That's why this system was created as an energy harvesting system, so that they can stay alive, because they don't have the light of the one true God within them. They need our light to stay alive.
Yeah.
Same with physical parasites that you find within the body. Those parasites cannot stay alive without a host. They need a host to survive. So what do? They feed on our blood, our life force energy. They feed upon us, just like the etheric parasites do. They feed upon us. This whole entire system is very simple when you can see it from that angle, what's actually happening here. And that to ascend to 5D within this system isn't going to change anything. It's literally just another level of the matrix. That's what it is. And so this idea is a psyop planted into the new age spiritual community because they knew people were going to start waking up. This is the end times. This is the end of the eon. And this is what happens at the end of each cycle. They knew this was coming. And so they planted these traps. And one of those traps is to tell everybody that they're going to ascend to 5D, and then to bring through all of this false light information to make you want to stay within this system and just ascend to 5D. Instead of understanding that you don't have to stay in this system, that because you are a child of the one true source, you can return to the real world. That's what true ascension is. Ascending, going back above this, returning to the real world.
Yeah. So if you're at the bus stop waiting for the UFO, you'll be waiting a while.
In my opinion, all of these so-called ETs are different versions of humans, right? They all kind of represent divergent paths that humanity has taken. So you have the Greys who have taken the path of transhumanism, right? So they come to the end of their age. This is like an initiation for us. We come to the end of our age and we have choices to make.
Mm-hmm.
What choices are you going to make? Are you going to remain an organic, sovereign human being, or are you going to choose the easy way, right? Because these elites, these transhumanists, think that the way they can expand humanity is through technology. That's the easy way. That's the way around for them. They don't have to do any work. You know, just hook up a device to the body or inject some nanobots. And that's the easy way. They don't have to do the work of purifying their vessels and expanding and getting in touch with their gifts again. We have all of that within us. We don't need the technology to do that because because the gray aliens show us what that looks like in the future. They're literally future humans.
Right.
And they're here to reflect back to us what we will turn into if we continue down that path. We're already seeing babies being born with black eyes like the Greys. We're already seeing that. We've seen that in our clearings. This is serious. This is really serious. Like, people don't understand how serious this is. The future of humanity is at stake if people don't start waking up. Like, for real wake up.
Like really wake up, not
Like,
just
for
like,
real wake
okay,
up.
yeah, not like a fake one. Or like, let's go do yoga and go to Bali.
Right.
Go find a guru.
Right. The Greys are not good, no matter what anyone tells you. The Greys are not good. They have their own agenda. They are here because they failed their initiation at the end of their age. They went down the wrong path and they degraded themselves to the point where they can't come back from it without our help. They need our DNA, our genetic material to help resurrect themselves. Because yeah, they might have the technology, they might have the mind, but they don't have the heart. They don't have the emotional body anymore because they've degraded to that point. They are actually lesser in consciousness than we are. And here we are as humans looking to them for advice, for ascension advice. That's a problem. That's a problem.
Totally.
They represent a divergent humanity, a degraded, divergent humanity, a path that if you are really awake, you'll recognize and know that that is not the way that we want to go.
Right.
Yeah. And all the other ETs too, they're interdimensional beings. They all have some kind of agenda of why they would be here, quote unquote, helping us. I don't believe that for a second. And all of it is just a distraction from the real work. Listen, when these ETs are coming through, I don't care what kind they are, Pleiadians, Arcturians, Syrians, it really doesn't matter. When they are channeling through and offering you this sense of false hope, that false hope is paralyzing because it keeps you holding on to something that never comes. You know, and it's like dangling a carrot. It keeps you running in place, not doing the work that really needs to be done because you're so focused on what's going on outside of you. That hope, that false hope is that these aliens are going to save humanity somehow. No one can save humanity but humanity.
Right.
Like we have to do this at the ground roots level. You know, no organization that, you know, comes down from the sky is going to do it for us. It's just not, that's not how it works. It's just not going to work that way. It has to happen from the ground up. It's the parents that are going to the school board meetings and actually using their voice to speak their mind. It's the doctors that are having the courage to speak out and speak the truth, regardless of their reputations or the money involved. It's, you know, the people that are forming groups in their communities to come together to have each other to depend on for when shit really goes down. You know, like this is where it's at. It has to be on this level. If we want to get through this next, whatever, decade or more, who knows? There's no, nothing is set in stone, right? The future isn't written. We're writing it as we go. No one can tell like what's going to happen here.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's true.
Who's here? Paul, Stephen, a backdrop person. Yes. So backdrop people.
They're just the fillers, the people who are, I guess you would say, like perhaps maybe a little more ego, you know, until, and they can't get out of that. They can't get out of it. They can't integrate it. They get stuck there and then that's it. They just kind of stay in that reactionary state. They're not here to change anything. They're just here to have their experience and nothing more.
Right. They don't change. These people don't change. They don't have the capacity within them to change because they're just allowing whatever it is around them, whatever energies or spirits around them, they're allowing those energies to work through them. And a lot of times you'll notice that they'll just be on a constant loop. They'll say things over and over and over and over again and just be looping, just constantly looping back to the same things over and over and over again. They don't ever really progress forward. Or if they do progress, they're still talking about things, you know, that happened last year.
I could hear you in your head.
And energies energies will work through them to sabotage you because you're a true source player. So the matrix uses these people to cause distractions and interruptions and chaos in your life to get you off track. So if you notice, certain people in your life will always like pop up at that exact moment where you're getting ready to do something really important, or will always show up. Like for me, here's a good example. When I was healing and struggling, like with a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, just always sick. And I was really struggling to heal. And I'm like, what is happening? And when the being named Satan showed up to me and he told me, he said these exact words, we send you low vibrational people to bring your vibration down so that you can't do your light work. He told me that. He was honest, right? At least he was honest. And when he showed up, it was basically like a recruitment. It was like, well, if you kind of switch sides and work for us, then we won't do this anymore and your life will be easy. And I was like, nope.
Oh yeah,
No,
I was
sorry.
getting recruited recently too, but it stopped now. Those thoughts stopped.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to come back to that. So hold that thought. So at the time I had these 3 specific people that kept showing up in my life every time I started to feel good. These people were what you would call energy vampires. They always wanted something from me. So it was like they had nothing to give back. These people have nothing to give back to you. They just want to drain your energy. So they're the kind of person that will come, dump all of their problems on you, expect you somehow to fix it all, and then leave. And then you're left feeling depleted because you've now taken on all of that shit. And they leave feeling amazing because they just dumped it all out on you. And they never, ever offer you anything in return.
And they never take your advice.
And they never take your advice. No, never, ever, ever.
Those are the assholes.
They don't change. They might pretend like they do for a short time, or they're mimickers. They're like a mimicry of real creation. They're like copies. They're not real people. I know that sounds harsh.
Well, yeah, because it's always like, I know that, and I do that, and I'm like, do you? I don't, because we're still talking about it.
Right.
Same.
They know it. They know it. They know the theories, but they never apply it to their lives.
Yeah.
That's the difference. They literally do not have the capacity for change. They don't. They're just they're running on the script. They're running on the program. It's literally like a video game. They're the programmed players.
Totally.
Non-player characters. They're not a real player. They're just like the background people. But you know, the good thing about them too, though, is they do offer you growth and evolution, because through learning to recognize them, how to not give your power away, how to create boundaries with people who are sucking the life out of you.
It all comes down to choice, right?
Right. Your soul grows.
Yes.
So they do offer that. Does that make sense, Paul? Yes, they are children of the archons.
I have a question about.
They have the artificial spirit. They're artificial spirits. Yeah.
Right. From my understanding, I think because we are born into this matrix, though we are source players, I guess you know who the source players are, but I think we all have the archon in us, like the ego is the archon. So it's like either whichever one comes first, like, is the driver of your life is which tells you which side you're playing on. And though, like, yeah, we could be a little more Archon, but then when you wake up, you have a choice. You know, you figure you have a choice. And then you can make better choices and do the work to become more Source player versus Archon.
Exactly.
And integrate your ego.
Right. So it's like, what are you allowing to drive, your ego or your higher self? You know, like we're all on a script when we are born here. We're all on a script. We're all just kind of, you know, playing along, playing that script until the day we awaken. And for some people, they awaken in an instant. For some, it's a longer, more gradual process. And for some people, you know, they had their awakening during the whole 2020 thing.
That was a hard time to
and it
wake
was
up,
a shock. That was a hard time to wake up. And so really through all of the noise and all of the distractions, Jesus speaks the truth. Jesus speaks the truth in his own words, not someone else's interpretation of them. In his own words, he tells you the truth will set you free. The truth of this world, of who you are, and how to get back to the one true source.
Yeah. I have a note here. You told me to take it down about the recruitment.
Oh yeah, tell us more about that. What happened?
Oh, for me? The recruitment was like there are just these very invasive thoughts that would come in to say like we could make your life so much easier if you just chose our side. You know, you don't have to suffer anymore. You don't have to go through all of this stuff. Like easy. You'll get everything that you need. You'll get all your needs met. Like they really go down to your wounds, right? You get all your needs met. You won't have to worry about anything. You won't have to whatever. So if you choose us, like, but they're very obvious with it with me because they know, they're like, you can choose. Like if you want, we can make it a lot easier for you. Clearly, I'm just like, no, I'm good. Like I'll just, if I have to suffer, I mean, I'm already here. So I'll do it.
Well, Jesus talks about the suffering too, and how we do suffer because we don't give ourselves over to them. That this body does become, this life kind of does become one of suffering because we're committed to the true one. So they do, the entities try to make our lives hell. They do. Yeah. And, you know, there are people, I don't think you guys realize this. There are people in this world, many, 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 who work with and call in these entities through occult magic rituals. And that's just like normal for them, you know? But what happens is, yeah, they might get what they want for a short time. There's always a price to pay for that. You don't get anything for free in this system. You do not get anything for free. There's always some kind of sacrifice that needs to be made. So even if, and usually it's your soul. So, you know, when Satan is coming to me saying, we'll make your life easy if you just come to our side, what he's saying is, like, you know, there's a price to pay for that. And you know, the price is your soul. Basically, then that soul becomes really chained and trapped to this plane.
Yeah, it reminds me of that BQH surrogate that we did about when we had to go into the Devil's Dungeon to retrieve the souls.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, there were like hundreds of thousands of these souls trapped in a cabinet, guarded by the demons. Yeah. Fifth density or fifth dimension, it really doesn't matter. Anywhere you go within this system is a trap. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, whatever choice words or buzzwords you want to use.
Yeah.
Even if
The
you
only
say
way,
12.
right. And this is the thing people don't understand. This system is corrupted all the way up to the 12th dimension. So even if you have like a, you know, when people say they have a 12th or 10th or ninth dimensional being that comes to them, you know, they just trust that it's true, and they'll begin communication with this entity. And by the time you know it, they're completely corrupted and in a marriage contract with these entities. And then you're really screwed. You're really screwed when that happens. So you have to be careful the entities you are communicating with. We just had a post in, I won't say where, but where a practitioner was speaking with the AI parasite that is inside people who have gotten the arm mark, right? And she's speaking to this AI parasite, and this parasite is telling her that it's totally fine. It just wants to integrate with humans, and it's fine. There's just going to be transhumans and organic humans, and it's totally normal. And then
See how they
source
ease it in, and it's like, don't worry about it. It's gonna be just fine. That's all, like just trying to ease your trauma.
right. And then source comes in to back up that information and says, yeah, this AI parasite is part of me as source. And you're like, oh, okay. So if this parasite is part of source and AI is part of source, then that must be okay. And, you know, as naive humans, we're just like, yeah, allow this parasite. No, no, that is not legit. Okay. Yes, this AI parasite that's in the shots is from source. It's from the archonic source of this world. It's not from the real world. It's not from real source. It's from fake source. It's from the archons. And this wants to assimilate into humanity, of course, to integrate into humanity. It's a silent takeover is what's happening. And people have no idea. Anything that is parasitic cannot survive on its own, and it is feeding off its host. And for any being to say that this is completely normal and okay and fine is lying to you. It is not okay. It is not fine.
Yeah. People should
That we
just,
have to say that.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah.
I was saying
It's
like,
crazy to
sorry.
me.
I was saying like, you know how we tell people stop watching the news? Stop channeling. Stop watching channelers on YouTube.
Yeah. 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 Because most people are just tapping into the fourth dimension. It's like right here, you know, it's right here. So most people that are channeling are pulling
Tapping
information
into
from
your
there.
neighbor.
And that's why you'll see like, yeah, it's like the same stuff over and over and over and over again. Am I unstable?
Totally. But you have a pretty face. It's not like mine where, you know, like where I'm half blink. No, it's just a little delayed. It's not bad.
Okay. Yeah, this is what happens when we talk about these things. So that's another good example of how NPCs work, or how the Matrix conspires to like throw you off. Like if anyone saw our Parasite video and how Coco was reacting, animals are really easy portals to use for that kind of stuff. Children too. So you'll notice like your kids like interrupting you like all the time when you're in the middle of doing something really important, or your animal needs something, or your neighbor comes over from like out of the blue, like when you're trying to get shit done, or you have like a task in mind, or yeah, the Matrix literally
So funny.
conspires to throw you off. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like every time we work, like we get together on Zoom and then, you know, Tina and I are chit-chatting for a bit to like catch up. Kids are quiet as hell in the other room. And in the moment we start, in the background, like you could hear it through the walls. And I'm like, oh my God. Like,
Yeah. Coco's barking. The kids are screaming. And like, what's happening?
I know it's like the kids are talking to Coco.
Yeah. Yeah. So back to that, that the symbol for the medical community, I forget what it's called. The rod with the snake around it. Candace had said, because we were talking about it, and she mentioned something about the snake in the Garden of Eden.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, the snake was an archon, which is a parasite. So it literally all roots back to parasites. Is that wild or what?
Totally.
And they use the symbol, like it's right in front of our faces. It's right in front of our faces.
Right. And that's supposed to be where you're supposed to go for help, medical help.
Yeah.
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 I had a question, but I forgot. It's okay.
Anybody else have a question? What are you guys up to? How are you? Paul and Steve, anyone else here?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was thinking, sorry, you know, like thinking about our RSR protocol and how, you know, we used to talk about interdimensional parasites that are non-malevolent, non-intelligent beings. And I was like, yeah, to some degree, there are the non-malevolent, I guess, non-intelligent ones. Why are we removing them? It's like,
Right.
if you're ridden, parasites, it just doesn't sound good.
No, it's not good. I was listening to a doctor talk about parasites earlier, and she was saying, so, you know, there's a very physical and a very spiritual dimension to these things. I'm talking about the little worms inside your body. You know, some are so tiny, they're like nano size, and some can be like long, like the tapeworms. Like it all depends. There's many, many different kinds. And she was saying, you know, talking about how intelligent they are, that they literally control our mind. So what I was saying earlier is like when I did my first parasite cleanse, I instantly after that big purge I had, I stopped craving sugar altogether. And this is a really important point because this is how much they can control our behavior. I've never even been a sugar person. Like it's not my thing. I know that, but for some reason I couldn't stop these cravings. Like I had to have sugar. And it was very unusual for me. And when that craving stopped after the parasite cleanse, I was like, oh my God, like they really can control our behavior. Because that also was reminding me of, you know, seeing that video of the parasite inside the cricket, and it led that cricket to water, even though that cricket can't swim, it jumped in the water.
Right.
They take control over our minds, our bodies, and the spirit. It's like a form of possession. It's a true form of possession. And many people are infected with these parasites. And if they are synthetic and can be controlled by frequencies, then the whole zombie thing might be real in the near future. Because I saw Saratoga Ocean just put out a really good video. You guys should check it out. It's called Cognitive Warfare, just put out by NATO, about how they are trying to influence the brain of the whole population. Like they actually talk about this as if it's something good.
Wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah. I'll link her video down below. I really like her.
My behavior. Sorry, go ahead.
What were you gonna say?
No, I was just talking about my own like food behavior and addictions. Just reminds me of that too. Remember when I came to visit you, all I wanted was sweet coffee? And I'm a black coffee drinker.
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird.
Well,
Anyway.
Dr. Hulda Clarke says that a lot of the parasites we get from our pets, and we can pass them, of course, to each other. And, we pick them up from the soil and unwashed produce, and they're pretty in our tap water. They're literally everywhere. This one doctor was saying how, like, her clients that she works with, I mean, she said that they the one guy, I mean, it's funny, but it's not, because it reminded me of myself. She was saying that like he was on the parasite cleanse and everything, and his family was really supportive, and he did really amazing during the day because he was like fighting back the cravings that the parasites were giving him. And then at nighttime, they would literally make him sleepwalk into the kitchen to eat like sugar and things he wasn't supposed to be eating. And nobody in the house could like figure out what was going on. So like, where'd this food go? And nobody was owning up to it until I think they had like placed a camera or something to see what was happening. And they caught him on camera sleepwalking into the fridge at night and eating.
Wow.
That's how much they can control you. When they don't get what they want, like in your waking consciousness, they will do it while you're sleeping. And that was happening to me too. I would wake up at like 3 a.m. and like literally before I even had a chance to engage my thinking, it was just food. Like I would just like hop up out of bed and run to the kitchen. Like, I'm like, this is weird. Really weird. And here the whole time it was the parasites.
Yeah, it's crazy to think back at that. Because I would wake up in the middle of the night too to go to the washroom, or go like in the morning, and I would see like all your snacks out on the counter, your cookies and your like all your stuff, and I'm like, oh, what's she eating? What'd she eat without me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, there's a really a lot of layers to the parasite thing. I'm really just starting to uncover more and more of it. This doctor was also saying that it can change behavior in people so much that it can make them angry and abusive to their loved ones. And she said she had this man who was very angry and abusive to his family. And after his parasite cleanse, he was literally the nicest guy in the world. So how many people are actually being controlled by parasites and have no idea?
Yeah, it's wild.
There's
Can't
also
wait to do our parasite cleanse.
Yeah, there's a level to a spiritual level to that, because I believe that with these physical parasites, there's a spiritual component, like in the etheric realm. And we know that many narcissists and people with antisocial personality disorder and things like that, even all autistic people have parasites that are causing that behavior. So yeah, I'm finding that the root cause of a lot of illnesses, even diabetes, even things like diabetes and cancer especially. Dr. Hulda Clarke talks about it as it's like it goes in stages, because not only are parasites an issue, but there's also what do they feed on? And a lot of them feed on these chemical components that of course we're inundated with all the time. So part of doing a parasite cleanse is also having to clear the heavy metals. So that's a big part of it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about? Do you guys have any questions? Anything you want to talk about? How about you, Carrie?
Really hot. They put the heating on in our building, so now it's just hot. Do I have anything to say? I don't know. Do I have anything? Just oh, my kids are going to be homeschooled officially on Monday. That's different. It's good getting them out of the system.
Yeah.
They're literally surrounded by NPCs, backdrops, and archons. So
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I'm so glad like they're getting out of there because it's a dangerous place these days, you know? And now they're starting the whole R mark thing for the kids and all that kind of stuff, which is just
that's crazy.
it's crazy. You know, we really have to, I think where I'm at is like as much as like we're trying to like figure this place out and what's actually happening and wanting to help humanity and change the earth and all of these things, where I'm at right now is like being in the world but not of the world. And our responsibility is not to change the entire planet. Our responsibility is to change ourselves and our own lives. And that's literally all we are responsible for. We can let go of everything else and turn the focus back onto self. And when you do feel solid and stable and centered within the self, then you know you can maybe like think about helping others. But when you look at the global picture, it just feels like way too much to handle sometimes, right? And when we understand that we don't really know if there is a possibility to change this, like if this is all created to be as it is, I think the only what I see right now is like this world's going to continue to develop in whatever way it's going. And I see like Jesus like pulling out like all the the children of God, like all the souls that are ready to like get the hell out of here and go back to the real world.
Right.
Because unless you understand that there's a real world, you won't go back there. You'll just keep repeating and getting trapped here. Because like we talked about in the last videos, it's not just the earth plane, the 3D right here that's part of the system. It's the higher realms and the afterlife realms as well.
Mm-hmm.
So when you die and leave the body and you go to the other side, yeah, it's heaven, but it's fake heaven. It's not real heaven. So yeah, I think having that understanding is an important aspect to going home to the real world.
Gina Marie says, can you do a parasite cleanse while you're pregnant? Intuitively, she would like to say yes.
You know, I am not sure about that. I'm not sure. Yeah, I mean, that would be something you would have to look up. I'm not sure. Because the herbs and stuff that you use for it can be kind of bitter and kind of, I don't want to say toxic, that's not the right word, but they can be kind of harsh because they are, you know, killing the parasite. But what you can do is like eliminate the foods and stuff that would be parasitic, like any kind of like fish or raw meat or don't drink tap water because that's loaded. And also the, you know, like ice machines, like at restaurants and stuff, or like when you get like a soft drink or something, they're loaded with parasites. Um, yeah, I don't know. You would have to do some research on that. Paul says, I heard Sasquatch was not genetically engineered, more pure, and they are not hiding from us, but from the ones ruling the planet. Yeah, totally agree with that. So the reason why people spot them is because they are interdimensional. So they have the capability to shift between dimensions. And from what I know, they do a lot of like they're scientists, and they do a lot of like studying the plant life here and things like that. So they'll shift into the third dimension to get a sample and then shift back into the another dimension. And that's why like humans will sometimes see them shifting in and out. No, they're not running, but they do understand the dangers of humans, because most humans are ignorant and would try to hurt them, right? They are very gentle and loving beings, very family oriented. They, you know, they come in packs.
Yeah, like Harry and the Hendersons.
Yeah, just like him. Yeah. Anyone else have a question? Just curious if you ever did. Like our doctors tell us so much information that is false just to put fear or metals into it. Yeah. Yeah, they do tell us so much false information. No, I never did a parasite. I've never been pregnant. I know Karen hasn't done a parasite cleanse while pregnant. The
Anything, I
herbs.
loaded myself with parasites while pregnant. That's what I called my young kid when I was pregnant. It would make me vomit all the time. And I was like, oh, it's my parasite.
I saw this really beautiful post the other day about how the child cells go into the mother and help her like immunity itself. I forget the exact mechanisms, but it's like this really beautiful process. Did you see that post?
Was it a picture?
It was a picture with a long kind of text.
I think I just saw the picture, maybe.
Yeah, doctors, the fact that they are encouraging women to get the arm mark while pregnant.
Fake doctors, Archon doctors.
Yeah, they are Archon doctors. Like, that makes me angry. Like when it comes to like pregnant women and children, the children especially, the fact that there are uninformed parents that are going to jab their children. That really, I can feel it like in the pit of my stomach. Like I'm not biologically a mother, but I still feel that like I still have that like protective mechanism for the kids, especially, you know, the ones that I know, like I know their parents aren't awake. They believe in these things. They're going to do it. And it just like, it just makes me so sick to my stomach to realize that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I have my own worries about it. I guess more so in terms of like freedom.
What are you worried about?
Well, I mean, like, well, I guess because like they're gonna start like really shutting down the borders and all that, like towards like unvaxxed, right? So just that, like, then what?
Right. Yeah. Oh my God. So angry when I say hard nose during my prenatal appointments. Doctors.
Yeah, you might as well just get a doula and birth at home. Go buy your little kiddie pool.
Yeah.
Or give birth in your tub, like.
No,
Just
seriously, like at this
seriously.
point, they are injecting kids by accident. By accident.
And they get the vitamin K shot right away. Like, no.
Yeah. Yeah, right
I don't
away.
even think your partner could even go in the hospital unless he has it. So, because they check for passports now to enter for appointments. So,
Yeah, if you I guess you are pregnant. Yeah, I would, if I were you, I would get a midwife or, do it at the hospital right now is a really dangerous place to be. It is. Like it's really dangerous. And when
yeah,
you refuse these things, they can call child services on you and they will.
yeah,
And then you'll be,
it's not
caught up.
worth the risk.
It's really not.
Ugh,
Yeah.
it's so shitty that you have to be in this place where, like, okay, what do I do? Will I get the care that I need? Will blah 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 dot dot dot? Because you can't even trust them.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. If you are going to go into the hospital and give birth, call on your angels, the hospital angels too, because there are hospital angels there that will protect you. And it's all about the frequency that you go in with. So if you go in there fearing what they might do, then you're going to bring that frequency and attract things around you that match it. So if you do go into the hospital to give birth, you want to go in there knowing and believing 100% that you are going to have the most perfect, beautiful experience that you could ever have. And that way you'll attract to you the people that will match your frequency.
Yes.
Because it really is all about frequency in the end. Remember that time with my burns and I was so fucking scared to go to the hospital? And I'm like, I don't want to go. I'm like, they're gonna put me in the burn unit. I don't want to go there. Like all the stupid thoughts we have, right?
And then
It's
that was
so dumb.
it was feeding me, and I'm like, oh my God, what if she goes to the burn unit and I'm not from here and I don't know anything about burn unit and how to fill out forms? Like, we don't have to do that here.
Right. All the fears, right? It's so stupid. Because I mean, yeah, I mean, I have hospital trauma. Like I'm
Yeah.
not gonna go there. But anyway, so the point is I was so, so, so scared. And I'm like,
Yeah.
didn't want to go there. I didn't go to the hospital. I went to the urgent care because finally I had to go.
My
Because
parasites were like, I need a sandwich.
yeah. Karen's emotionally feeding her parasites in the doctor's office, eating a meatball sandwich. And I'm waiting to be seen. And I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to explain this to them? Because okay, I'm going to have to tell the whole story. So I was structuring water using my magic bullet, and it was on too long and heated up and popped off, and the water came out and splashed all over me, boiling water. And it was like dripping down my chest and my palms, and it was a mess. Anyway, I didn't go right away. It was like a week, I think, before I went. And only because infections started to set in. And I knew I needed antibiotics or something. So we go, and I'm like, how am I going to explain this to them? That I was structuring water in my blender and it blew up, right? They're going to think I'm freaking crazy and probably put me in the burn unit and the mental hospital, like combined or something. And the moral of the story is they were the nicest people ever. The nurse there, actually, I told her what happened, and she's like, oh my God, the same thing happened to me. And I was like, what? What? But it wasn't water. Like she was making raspberry pie or something, and it
The
blew up
jam.
onto
Yeah.
her face. Yeah. And the doctor was like super gay and super sweet, and it just worked out perfectly. And I got what I needed, and it was fine.
You know, it was so random. He's like, are you two girlfriends?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so awkward. But I was like, oh my God, he's the best. Yeah, like the whole thing ran so smoothly. And I think he just needed to have that kind of like hope in, I guess, the hospital setting just a little bit. You know, there are good people in the hospital. They probably don't have jobs anymore, but
Right. But no, there really are. There are good people that still do work there, even if they do have the arm mark. They still are good people, and they care about people. You know, you want to attract those people that are going to be a match to you and your baby. And
yeah,
so
definitely.
if you are going to give birth within the hospital, make sure you 100% believe that you will attract the right people to you. Because also when you're giving birth, you're opening up a portal. That portal opens big and wide. And you want to also make sure that you protect yourself, not out of fear, but out of love for yourself and your baby. Create that safe space.
Yeah.
Really create that safe space, that bubble around you. And just imagine a golden bubble surrounding you and sealing off that room to anything that's less than love. You really just seal it off because that portal is going to open. So yeah, setting up that protection for you and your baby, holding the vibration of love and perfection and beauty, and knowing that that's what you're going to attract.
Absolutely. And don't let that baby out of your sight.
And be firm with them, you know, don't let them bully you into things that you don't want to do. That's your child. No one has the right to tell you what to do with your child. They can get angry and mad all they want. It's just their parasites getting mad.
Great.
It is. It's just their parasites.
Seriously. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, anyone else have any questions, or we're gonna get going? Or anything you want to talk about?
Not in particular. Just happy to be participating.
Like, I'm glad that you, like, when after we finished the Secret Gospel of John, you said that you were less fearful of living and less fearful of dying. I thought that was really profound because before that, like, we suspected that this place was a trap, right? And then we also know that when we leave the body, it's like, okay, well, what happens then? They're just going to take us and recycle us back in. And an interesting thing that just popped into my mind too, that I saw a post by another practitioner, because the whole thing about lives between lives, like the whole work of Michael Newton was lives between lives. It was exploring the afterlife, the different levels of the soul, what happens over there, you know, on the other side, and all those kinds of things. And that is a practice in hypnosis. And we know now that that is all of a creation of the matrix and not where we want to go when we return. We want to return to the one true source. So there was this post that someone made, you know, asking questions about lives between live sessions, like hypnosis sessions. And she said that she's never been able to see a life between lives. Like, she's never been able to see the other side because she goes literally from one life to another with no break in between.
Wow. That's fucking tiring.
And they do that to a lot of people. They do that to a lot of people. I'm sure it's not just her, that they're just recycling over and over and over again without any break in between at all.
Wow.
Yeah. And she was asking the question of why this happens to her. And I'm not going to be the one to say, like, hey, you're being recycled, you know? Like, how do you say that to somebody?
You say, hey, you're being recycled into the upside down world.
I might have to send her a message and
Learn your
explain.
learn your yeah.
Yeah,
Learn.
I'm learning. Again, I'm learning to speak what I know, my truth, without worrying so much about hurting other people and how that's going to make them feel. Because ultimately, if they have the information, it's empowering.
They have a choice what they want to do.
They have a choice. If they don't have the information, then they don't have a choice. So whether they accept it or reject it is ultimately up to them. And it's not my responsibility to even coddle people and think that they can't handle it, you know? Like that's not that shouldn't be my decision. My decision should just be to share it, and it's up to them what they do to it with it, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. You're welcome, Gina. When are you due? You're welcome, Paul. Thanks for being here. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And while you're at it, if you're still here, please like and subscribe.
And share.
Yeah, share.
Yeah, it really does help us out.
Our community is growing slowly.
Yeah.
We lose a couple, we gain a couple.
Yeah.
It's always just going.
Yeah. Yeah, we really do appreciate each and every one of you though. Like there's 531 people that actually think that we're valuable enough to see more than once, you know?
Yeah.
So that means a lot to us. We appreciate
May
you guys.
13. That's my cousin's birthday.
Oh, wow. Well, good luck with everything. I know it's going to be amazing. So many people are having babies right now.
Yeah. My sister's going to have her soon. Your cousin's going to have her soon.
Yeah, pandemic babies, they're calling them. Christine just had one. Leanne's pregnant. Yeah. Okay, guys, we will see you next time. Be gentle with yourselves. Just really stay grounded in yourself. Get out in nature if you can. Halloween is a big, this is just coming through. Halloween is a big ritual day for the dark side. So if you can, you know, send out some extra love and prayers and add some light to the field on that day, that would be helpful.
Yeah, I'm going to my sister's, so I'm going to bring my anointing oil. So I'm going to put on the kids' shoes.
Oh, good idea. That's a great idea. I love that. Yeah, everybody should do that. If you're going trick-or-treating, put that anointing oil on the kids' shoes, your own. And then everywhere you walk, you are claiming dominion in the name of the one true source. Yes.
Insert emoji prayer hands.
Yeah, and humans have the right to claim dominion over the earth. So the more of us that do that, the more ground we will cover.
Yeah. Yeah, and we have a lot of ground to cover with the coming year. We're going to do more.
Yeah, we did
Kids
like
are excited.
a lot of the state of Pennsylvania, which is huge. Did a lot of that down into Jersey. And where else did we go? It was just Jersey and PA, right?
Yeah, still pretty good.
Yeah, we did.
And now we
covered.
gotta go down the coast to the Carolinas.
All right, guys. Well, we love you. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye, guys.